To clear up one thing about asking. So there was a woman the first day who was asking about her podcast, and now she's going to include money, and she's going to need to ask. And after the Caribbean cruise, I also had a little hang up on this feeling of asking, and so I did an asking experiment, and my conclusion was so fascinating that I had an illusion that the asking was in front of me, that the asking was like asking a person. But the asking is always behind you. You're asking non-physical. You're asking this way, and you could never ask in an offensive way.
What we would be saying if we were saying those words would mean something slightly different than what you mean as you're saying these words.
Okay.
And what that is, and you've heard us say this many times, everything that you now think you're asking for is already a done deal because you've already asked. You already launched all the rockets, so the asking is done. The step one is done. But what you're calling the asking is what we are now calling calibrating to what you've asked for. And that's why we don't want you to be mixed up about whether you're asking, whether you're in the asking mode or in the receiving mode. And it's a really sophisticated, subtle difference. But until you accept that what you've asked for is already done, and now what you're doing, we've said it to you in this way. When you're scripting or goal setting or defining or deciding or even focus wheeling or any of the processes that we offer, every time what you're actually doing with one of those processes is getting up to speed with what is already asked and answered. You don't do the asking now as you're focused upon what you want. You've already done that. 100% of your focus when you are in the receiving mode and mean to be in the receiving mode, when you know that you are approaching or attempting or accomplishing or doing or involved in step three. Step three isn't asking, it's listening. It's like the difference between talking and listening. One day Esther was having a similar conversation with herself, like you're talking about, trying to figure some things out. This has been a little bit of a bumpy ride, this pandemic thing. Everything is sort of upended. And so Esther is asking things that she hasn't asked for in a long, long time. And as she is asking, and then she quieted her mind, we said to her, and she heard it, listen, listen. And through her entire meditation, what she heard, what she translated, was us whispering the word, listen, listen, listen. But sometimes, those like you and those like Esther, those like so many of you, you're so busy talking about what you're asking about that you're not listening. The receiving mode is listening. It's not still asking, it's listening. But before you listen, some things have to be in place, don't they? First, you have to respect and trust that to which you are listening. Do you trust your vortex? Do you trust your inner being? Do you trust Abraham? Do you trust your Abraham? That's that faith. It's a trust in, because if you don't trust someone can give you all the advice in the world. And if you don't trust them, you're not listening. The words are happening. The sound is coming into the room. It's even coming into your ears. And during your eye-rolling process, you're not receiving it, you see. And so in all that we talk about in all the hours that we are together is we want you to differentiate between who you are listening to. Esther had so much faith and trust in Jerry because he was wise and he cared. And she never saw him off because he was steady. But in that process of trusting this human that she was roaming the planet with, she didn't understand in the way that we're wanting you all to now understand, that you're not reaching for human opinions. Human opinions is your step one process. That's your sorting and sifting process. That's your collecting data process. That's your lining it up so that you can come to your own conclusions about your preferences. And that's the process of you synthesizing and milking and sifting and sorting and launching the rockets. So if you can hear us and you believe that you've launched rockets, and if you can hear us and you can believe that your inner being is there with all of that, then you know you have a guiding light, so to speak, a guiding emotion, so to speak, to listen for, to feel for. And you can feel when something's off. You can feel when it's off, whether it's coming from someone on television or whether it's coming from your own thought process. You can tell when it's off. That's why the process, does this feel a little better or does this feel a little worse? And if it feels a little worse, you are not listening to your source, because when you listen and hear your source, it always feels better. And that's what trust is. And we want you to find as much trust when you know it's off as you do when it's on. In other words, your inner being is never off. Source will never misguide you. But sometimes you can't hear it right because you're not in the vibrational vicinity of it. Well, don't let that be something that makes you mistrust your source. You can understand that maybe you're not quite up to speed with listening, but it's not a trust thing. It's a practice thing. It's not a trust thing. It's a resonance thing. And you just get better and better at it until you just have knowing. And when you have knowing, we know. Sometimes it is so annoying when you know and others don't. It's annoying. But they're not supposed to know what you know for you. What they're on their path of coming to know for themselves. And that's the thing that is tricky about being a teacher. As a teacher, Esther took it pretty personally for a little while when she realized that there were people that she knows for sure have been listening and resonating with Abraham for a long time that are taking really different paths on some things that Esther feels certain about. And she said, what good is our inner being? And we said, your guidance is for you, their guidance is for them. Your degree of alignment is for you, their degree of alignment is for them. Don't get in the middle of trying to define how well somebody else is doing with their relationship with their inner being. First of all, it's none of your business. Second of all, it'll make you nuts. Because you cannot possibly figure out how anybody else is doing with anything. It's you and your inner being and then. And the beautifulness of the step one experience. The human experience is mostly about step one. It really is. You help each other so much define who you are and what you want. And happiness really is about finding resonance with your own inner being and knowing when you are and knowing when you're not. Enough?
Yeah.
Really good.
Thank you. Hello. Vibration.
4 minutes and 37 seconds.
Oh my gosh. This has been so epic. It is the perfect place to launch from. It is incredibly satisfying, delicious.
And let's emphasize, for sure, you know, you're on the upper half of the emotional scale, which is always where you want to launch from. But what are you launching? Or has it already been launched? Do you mean launch or rendezvous?
Rendezvous.
Because it's already been launched. And now you're on the upper half of the scale. So what are you rendezvousing with?
Happy.
There you go. Happy, clarity, worthiness, knowing, exhilaration, more. That's the mantra of the universe. Do you know it? The mantra of the universe is more. More.
And we are enough. There's that dance of enough. And I was like, oh, is this enough? Is this enough? And then I was like, oh, it's an inner dance.
Enough is an interesting word, isn't it? You have to be enough because you can't be more than you are right now. So it has to be enough. So what is enough? Enough is the balance of me and me. That's enough.
Well, I say that all the time. Yes. Okay.
And same with everybody else, yes? So no longer the comparison, except does the comparison help at all? Does watching what other people are doing help you to launch desires? Of course it does. Does the contrast that you're experiencing with each other help you clarify your own desires? Of course it does. And so what have we accomplished in these hours that we've been together today? Enough. We've accomplished a lot. What we've accomplished is we're going to speak from your point of view. This is what we know of you. And what's gone beyond what was when we started. You know more clearly than you've known before that there is a vibrational version of you that is calling you to it. And it's not calling anyone else to it because you and it are one. In other words, someone else isn't going to swoop in and get the contents of your vortex. It's your creation, and you are the predominant, key, cooperative component to be called to it. So everything that you've been asking for is in the gestation stages. It's the birth of it, the timing of it matters a lot. And so what is the point of it? What's the point of it? What is one to do in the interim between the time that they've launched and the rockets have gathered. So there's this magnificent creating on a lot of different subjects that's over there. What is the optimum experience to be lived on your way to the utter fulfillment and see it, hear it, smell it, taste it, touch it, manifestation of what's in the vortex? What do you do about it? You enjoy the journey. You enjoy the life that causes you to add to it, and you enjoy the moments when you can feel that you really understand it, and you enjoy the manifestations that show you and others for sure that you understand it, and you enjoy the discovery of now, because at first it felt weird to you, but you found a way to line up with it. And as you lined up with it, now it is. And now what happened? You got a new piece of manifestation and a new launching pad from which to launch more rockets of desire. In other words, what you are witnessing and feeling and understanding is what eternity feels like. It takes ageism out of everything. It takes all shortage of anything out of it. In other words, it puts you in the place that you felt and knew when you decided to come into this physical body to begin with. You knew that all the resources that were required for you to be the creator of anything that you could desire, which is the ultimate satisfaction. You knew that this was the arena in which you could experience that. And isn't that ever just so?
Yes.
Isn't it?
Yes.
We've enjoyed this interaction more than words can explain. We like all the pieces of all of this that we extracted from that which you were about. Whether you were in this hot seat or not today, you were a magnificently co-creating cooperative component of what happened here. Just relax and know that good things happened and will continue to do so. And have as much fun until we see you next as is humanly possible. There is great love here for you.